Hello, iconography students. So here we are at week 2, and today I hopefully we're gonna accomplish the rest of the background. But I wanted to take a minute to just go over the aesthetics that are really um, behind this composition and how we're going about rendering this icon. So on screen here, I have one of the earliest Christian images we have. This is from the catacombs in Rome, and this is Christ, or what we believe is Christ the Good Shepherd. And I bring this up because the Good Shepherd motif really is one of the earliest iconographic motifs that we have, and that's important. I'm going to go a little forward, and here's also Christ the Good Shepherd, but from Ravenna, Italy. So this is done in the much, more lavish form of mosaic. So I bring this up because there's a trend in contemporary iconography that I think is a very healthy trend, a good trend, of tapping back into the very most ancient layer of the tradition, both in terms of motifs like or prototypes, like what we're depicting, but also in aesthetic and motifs. So we're going to cooperate with that trend and kind of look at some of these Paleo-Christian and artistic forms that come out of late antiquity. So here's a good example of tapping back into this earlier stratum of the tradition of really classical Greco-Roman art, which is, of course, where our iconographic tradition comes from late antiquity. Here's another example of this same trend in contemporary icon painting, tapping back into that Paleo-Christian Roman aesthetic. Here's a fantastic example that's really guided my composition and how I'm laying out the aesthetics. We see the same gradiated background and lavish architectural features that are the mainstay. Here's another great example, Christ the Good Shepherd. This is sort of referencing that Ravenna, but look at all of this. This aesthetic comes right out of that earliest stratum. So this is what we're going to be emulating, or we want to flavor our own piece as we're kind of sort of in that new wave of ancient futurism, so to speak, of tapping back into the earliest stratum of the tradition as really a way to go forward with the tradition. Here's another just phenomenal example. Again, this is Christ the Good Shepherd, but this is drawing directly on Greco-Roman painting as well. So this is what we're going to be shooting for, of tapping back into those deep roots. So part of what that style really emphasized, especially the Roman, Greco-Roman style, is this really lavish use of vegetal motifs. So that's the part of the background we're going to be focused on today, is all of this lush vegetation. This actually was also used in early Christian art. It kind of fell out of favor, goodness, really in the Middle Byzantine era, where they moved away from naturalistic decoration and more to abstract motifs. But we're definitely going to tap right back in this tradition. So I provided these here. You don't have to copy any of these directly for your actual painting. I'm going to supply you with some pictures of more contemporary icon painting of how we go about rendering trees, but we want to tap back into the flavor or the feel of a lot of this really lavish vegetal motifs. So here is yet another example from Roman fresco of that really lavish vegetal motifs. But one of the things the Romans really loved as well is to juxtapose the really lavish organic sort of environments with very ornate architectural environments. So putting those two together, that's really a mainstay of Roman painting. Here's another fantastic example of all of this vegetal motif in an architectural setting. So that's one of the main compositional aspects of the aesthetic that we're going for. So if we turn back to, we can turn back to this example, it's the same thing. We have this very beautiful a naturalistic setting framed by the more architectural setting. And then, of course, this example that is influencing us, or this composition directly, the same thing. We have that lavish vegetal, organic sort of backgrounds framed again by this architectural setting. So that's going to be our guiding aesthetic, our guiding principles. So I'm going to upload this PDF for you to look at, just to kind of get that governing spirit that is behind the composition that we're going with. Hello, iconography students. So this week we have something really fun. Really fun. This is absolutely one of my favorite techniques in icon painting, and that is faux marbling. So I know a lot of you have been somewhat trepidatious about this, but it really is easier than you think. But I wanted to introduce this technique. If you go ahead and look on screen here. So this is a beautiful example from the Kora Monastery in Constantinople of marbles. Now the Byzantines, as the Eastern Roman Empire, going all the way back to Rome itself, just absolutely loved to deck out the walls with what we call marble rivetments. So book-matched marbles that make patterns in all different types of marble. And this is just a fantastic example. Here's another example from that same monastery. All of these beautiful marbles in here. You see the book matching and the green. It's just really wonderful stuff. But eventually, as we get later in the empire, around the 1400s, all of that marble just becomes too expensive to actually pull off. So what happened is they started doing it in faux painting. And here's a wonderful example from Kora Monastery. But the latter half that was painted or built later, you see there's no longer mosaics. There's fresco, which was far less expensive than mosaic. And also there's not the beautiful marbles anymore. But this whole tradition of faux marbling came into existence. And it was used not just to reference marbles on walls, but if you can see here, marbles that were in the actual icons themselves. So this is a very long-standing tradition in Byzantine icon painting. Interestingly and fascinatingly, it has actually come to something of a revival in contemporary icon painting. So this is a wonderful contemporary icon, and here we have some of that beautiful marbling. Here as well, you can see this is just in a modern church, but there's that beautiful faux marbling. And then here's a wonderful example of it taking up the whole background. Now, one of the reasons why I like this faux marbling is not only does it look really nice, if you don't want to use gold leaf, like in my own work that I just do just because I want to paint it and it's not a commission, I hardly ever use gold. And I find that this marbling gives your work an extra level of sophistication. It gives it that like high quality sort of feel without using gold. Because remember, this came from a replacement of that really expensive marbles. But look at this. I mean, this is a wonderful, elegant icon, but there's no gold leaf on it at all. Same here. So this is a really great alternative if you just want to capture a nice aesthetic, but don't want to actually gild. So here are more contemporary examples of faux marbling. These are just fantastically done. We probably, well, I at least won't do anything this elaborate. If you wanted to, by all means go for it. So I will include lots and lots of different examples of faux marbling for us. And let's get started.